Well, hello! We're back at it again with another Super Mario Maker 2 video. The rate just seems to be speeding up these days. The last video was just 3 days ago. Mostly it's because I'm running out of things to say, but also I'm super excited to talk about this one, so we might as well start early because I feel like it. I've been molding my video ideas towards upcoming Nintendo games, and looking at the lineup of what is to come for the Nintendo Switch next, I've already talked people's ears off about Luigi's Mansion 3, I've covered Animal Crossing as best as I could, considering the knowledge that I didn't really have. I even danced around with Cadence of Hyrule mechanics, even though I'd never even played Crypt of the Necrodancer. And Mario Maker 2 just has the most substance to think about. And I guess I could make a Pokemon Shield video soon, but yeah. And the Link's Awakening remake is pretty on the nose, so there's not really much to speculate there. And I really doubt people want an Astral Chain video, so we'll skip that one straight ahead. So here we are again with Super Mario Maker 2. Previously I talked about what is left to cover, encapsulating pretty much every aspect of the game I could think of. Then we followed it up with the fan theory that Super Mario Bros. 2 is the next in line for the other game style that was somewhat negatively hinted at in the Direct, since there's an extra slot. And now I come to you with one more suggestion that could blow the concept of Super Mario Maker 2 completely out of the window. It is, of course, a Paper Mario style. All of this was inspired by a single fan art post that popped up on my Twitter feed by user @4fullgreat64. That's great, not the great. I guess the great was taken. And though it's clearly just a Paper Mario fan exploring the idea of it, I gotta say, it's a fantastic suggestion. Like, sure, Super Mario Bros. 2 seems to line up very well logically, and Super Mario Galaxy, for example, has a lot more wiggle room when it comes to its mechanics. A Paper Mario style would completely reshape our view of Super Mario Maker. No longer is the game style limited to the mainline games. Entire spin-off franchises will now be within the realms of what could be next. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's diverge fully into just how a Paper Mario Maker style could eventually work. It might not actually come to fruition, but hey, it's fun to think about. So first things first, Paper Mario is a franchise of 5 different games, so the style would have to be a combination of all of them. The most obvious element is of course Super Paper Mario, since it is the only one that's actually a 2D platformer. And it is also what the actual fan art is based off of. Some of the assets may look identical to the Thousand Year Door, but clearly this is Super Paper Mario. They've just reused the assets from Thousand Year Door into Super Paper Mario. The other 4 games are 3D RPGs to a certain degree, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they will be disregarded in this style, but we'll go into it a little later. So let's start with themes. There are 10 confirmed themes at least for each Super Mario Maker 2 style. So what are the most iconic areas from all of Paper Mario? Well, for a start, the ground theme being the generic greeny grasslands works quite nicely in any of the formats. Paper Mario 1 has the pleasant path, just being an early level path where you go through. The Thousand Year Door has Petal Meadows, being exactly the same thing. Super Paper Mario's version is Lineland, being a lot more linely and bitty. Sticker Star has warm fuzzy plains, and Color Splash has Ruddy Road. They're all fairly simple, they're basically World 1-1 levels, but they all fit very nicely into the ground theme. Not to mention, to many fans, this is very iconic. The underground theme also is quite easy to pinpoint since it's quite a common theme in the Paper Mario games. In the first game you have the Toad Town tunnels. In Thousand Year Door they updated it into the Rogueport sewers, though maybe you could turn it into the Pit of 100 Trials, maybe for a vertical sublevel. Super Paper Mario has the Underwear. Sticker Star doesn't really have much for an underground region, but Color Splash does have the Indigo Underground. Moving on to the most difficult theme to pinpoint, we have the underwater theme. Just like in Super Mario Bros. 2, in Paper Mario, you can't really swim all that often. Paper Mario, the original game, doesn't have any kind of water levels. Thousand Year Door could maybe have the keyhole ocean, maybe like you're on the boat as you're going along, or it's just in the background somewhere. Super Paper Mario does have you swimming, and there is an actual water level called the Tile Pool in the Bitlands that can go quite nicely into that. Sticker Star, again, doesn't have any kind of water level that I can think of, but Color Splash has 2 potential options, kind of. There's the Blue Bay Beach, which isn't necessarily a water level, but it's a beachy themed level that could fit the bill, or there's the Violet Passage. Again, it's just got water nearby. For the castle theme, this one is an easy one. The original Paper Mario has Bowser's Castle. It's pretty simple, it's your end game level, it works quite nicely for the castle theme. The Thousand Year Door has a couple of options. You can go with Hooktail's Castle, being very early on in the game, but obviously very castle-like, or you can go to the end of the game and have the Palace of Shadow, a lot more darker of a take on the castles. Super Paper Mario has the Castle Black, again being the end of the game big bad boss level. It's also very nicely silhouetted in black and white, has a nice style. But if they wanted something a little less creepy, they could go with Fort Francis instead. Sticker Star has the Goomba Fortress, fairly standard, or just Bowser's Sky Castle. This is very easy to pinpoint and dictate, and Color Splash has the Black Bowser's Castle. The Sky theme also has a fair bit of wiggle room. The original Paper Mario game has Star Road. It's supposed to be the path up to Star Haven, I believe, but maybe one could extend that to be a much longer pathway for you to 2D platform along. The Thousand Year Door does have a sky world known as the Glitz Pits, but I'm unsure how that would actually fit as a linear level, but as an alternative, since there's not really much else, maybe it could go to the moon? Sky and space kind of combining in that sense. Super Paper Mario has the Over There Stair, very clearly a sky world, it's literally all made out of clouds. Sticker Star has Bowser Jr.'s Flotilla, very standard though kind of airshippy. And Color Splash doesn't really have much of a sky level either. It's got the Crimson Tower for a high vertical place, and it's got Vortex Island that's very windy. Other than that, it's a bit tricky to pick for that specific game. The forest theme is nice and easy. Paper Mario has the Jade Jungle, very clearly a foresty jungle. The Thousand Year Door has the Boggly Woods, or even Keyhole Key, because they're both jungles and woods. Super Paper Mario has the Dotwood Tree, just a giant vertical wooden bitty tree. Sticker Star has Leaf Litter Path, or basically any level from World 3, it was all a giant forest level anyway. And Color Splash has the Mondo Woods, or the Sacred Forest, both coming from the Green World, and again be the foresty world. Next theme is Ice. This one actually is pretty hard to pinpoint. Paper Mario very obviously has the whole Shiver region. There's Shiver City, Shiver Mountain, and Shiver Snowfield. Any of those or all of those could work quite nicely. The Thousand Year Door also has the Far Outpost, being a Russian cold bomb placed area. This is also the level that Forful's Great 64 chose to actually put in their fan art. It's the design you see in the background. Super Paper Mario though has no ice. As far as I can see, it's not a thing. Sticker Star has Snow Rise or Ice Flow, or just any level from World 4. It's the Ice World. And Color Splash also doesn't seem to have an ice level. You'd think for like a bluey cyan thing they'd have ice, but blue is watery and beachy, so oh well. The desert theme is mostly easy to pinpoint. Paper Mario 1 has another version of the Dry Deserts, or maybe the Gusty Gulch for a more creepier abandoned Boo Village kind of trope. The Thousand Year Door doesn't have a desert theme, but a station. It's very orange and sunsetty and could be quite fitting for at least a little bit of that dry deserty theme. Super Paper Mario has a giant desert level called Yold Desert. Sticker Star has Dry Bake Desert as its most obvious choice, but again, all of World 2 is the desert theme. And Color Splash is a little more iffy, but I think the closest we get is Marmalade Valley. It's kind of underground, but it's also quite sandy and groundy and bricky and archaeology. It's kind of desert. So, the Ghost House. Mario loves their slightly creepy areas. Paper Mario 1 has, obviously, Boo's Mansion, or perhaps Tubba Blubber's Castle, not being a castle theme, but instead being a creepy ghost theme, even though he's the guy that literally destroys the ghosts, but, you know, whatever, it could work either way. The Thousand Year Door has a couple of creepy areas, even though they're all in one world. You could go with the Twilight Trail pathway through the forests, which actually could also work as a forest theme if we really wanted it to, or we could go more simply into the creepy steeple, which is totally not a castle. Again, just a creepy little house. Super Paper Mario has the River Twigs with some horrible background music to boot, or Merly's Mansion, not so much being horrifying, but it's very much, you know, manual labor and being tortured to a degree. Sticker Star has the Enig Mansion. It's icy on the outside, but gloomy on the inside. And Color Splash has the Dark Blue Inn, the easiest choice ever compared to all their other levels for Ghost House. And finally, the airship theme. This one's tricky because Paper Mario doesn't have much for airships. For Paper Mario 1, you could maybe get the Starway. It's kind of sky-y and spacey, which is kind of what I was thinking. If sky is so similar to airship, then maybe sky can be turned into space instead, like it's something. Thousand Year Door could again have the moon. Super Paper Mario also does overtly go into outer space, so that could be a thing. Sticker Star has Bowser Jr.'s flotilla again, that could work, and Color Splash has nothing of the sort. Considering the sky theme at night does turn into an anti-gravity space level, I feel like it's the most applicable, but it's really hard to choose for this slot. So then the final thing I've got for themes is the other iconic places that don't necessarily fit into a slot of the themes, but it could be a nice area we could see. For Paper Mario 1, we could get Shy Guy's toy box, perhaps being an alternative to the underground section. It's nice and toily, and I doubt there's a toy theme. The Thousand Year Door has the X-Naught Fortress, being a combination of sky, space, and castle. It's wonderful, the music sounds great, and it'd be cool to see the interiors of this mechanical little dome on the moon. Super Paper Mario has the Bitlands, which could be an alternative to the ground theme, actually. All nice and 8-bitty, but looks all weird and bitly. Sticker Star has maybe the Rumble Volcano. We don't have an overt lava theme other than a castle theme, so maybe it's a weird twist on the castle theme. And Color Splash has a very iconic Blue Bay Beach. At most, I imagine it would fit into a beach theme, which I've only ever theorized could appear in Super Mario Maker 2, but it's not confirmed yet, so what do I know? So yeesh, that's a ton of content already, and that's literally just the background images for some fan service for some Paper Mario fans. We haven't even gone on to the most exciting part of the fan art, or at least to me it is, the enemies. So, for 4 out of 5 of the Paper Mario games, combat was turn-based. Obviously, it won't work for Super Mario Maker 2, so thankfully we have Super Paper Mario being our black sheep that kind of covers our bases. Though at the same time, this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to shy away from the general Paper Mario mechanics. Many of the slanted mechanics from Paper Mario that can still stick around, and will most likely if there was a Paper Mario theme, is Mario always wielding a hammer, doing sideways damage to close combat enemies. Mario also now in this theme can't jump on every enemy, some are equipped to be immune to him. The Paper Mario design also usually allows for partners with additional moves, but this could be removable. For the most part, they only ever attacked with some new range or helped you hide away or stun enemies, which is nice, but not necessarily needed. So, what enemies could there be? Well, there are many normal Mario enemies that still appear with slight variations. Goombas, for example, can appear in a normal form. They can appear as Paragoombas and Spiked Goombas, wearing a spiked head to make them immune to jumps. We've also seen Hyper Goombas who can charge themselves up to do more damage, as well as a variety of different colors that each have more HP. This is very easy to do in Mario Maker, since you could just open up a long menu that has an equipable spike helmet, wings like normal, a power boosting ability, or extra HP add-ons based on their color. This would also be a major mechanical change for the Paper Mario style, as few enemies could be a one-hit kill anymore, as Mario will need to do multiple hits to take down certain enemies because he can only take down their HP. Thankfully, he will be the same in that he will have HP of his own. It's no longer just 1 or 2 hits either way. The Koopas always appear in sunglasses, but otherwise they could be normal, they can be paratroopers, they can have varied colors and HP, or they could be upgraded into the Koopa Troll, having a full knight suit with a spike on top and dashing right towards Mario. The Dry Bones appear fairly similarly, now able to throw bones at Mario, and as per usual, they fall into a pile of bones when hit. They are unkillable unless you use fire or bombs, if that is a possible mechanic. Hammer Bros can appear, as well as Fire Bros and Boomerang Bros, which I feel are kinda rare these days. Lakitus can appear as normal, throwing down Spinies. Buzzy Beetles appear with all sorts of different visual forms. Magic Koopas also have a bigger role, coming in with different colors to have different effects. Some may want to boost up other enemies, if that is an allowed option, or they might just give different status ailments to Mario if they carry over. We'll talk more on that soon. Pokies make a reappearance, now being able to do a long distance attack by flinging one of their pieces towards Mario. Piranhas can appear in a giant variety of colors, and some with their own status ailments onto Mario. Boos are possible with their Dark Boo variant. Bob-ombs can appear nice and easily and small, or they can come in giant forms like the Bulky Bomb or the Bobolk. Chain Chomps work pretty similarly, being charged from a certain angled point on their chain. Bullet Bills and Bullet Blasters can appear with a constant barrage going towards you, and Thwomps will act pretty identically too. Even though there is a HP focus in this style, Thwomps are still unkillable in the Paper Mario games. We can also see the reappearance of Cheep Cheeps, Bloopers, and Shy Guys, which come in all sorts of different varieties, my god. And of course, there are plenty of new, or at least more rare, enemies to see, and many coming with all sorts of upgrades as well. An iconic villain we've long forgotten now is Junior Trooper, potentially being a tiny little mini-boss inconvenience. There's also the Fuzzies that could maybe attach to you and leech HP off of you. The Ninja Koopas being a very new version of the Koopa. Clefs with boosted defense charging towards you, usually being flippable to actually make them vulnerable. Bandits being a new type of Shy Guy that could maybe steal coins or some sort of item off of you. Clubber throwing a spiked log thing at you. There's modified lava bubbles and embers that could maybe move towards you instead of just out of the lava. Cray Daisies and Amazy Daisy, which both try to sing and make you fall asleep before darting away. Gus and Darkcraw being a speedy spear-wielding enemy. Spinnia also being a very speedy guy, darting towards you and back again. Pyder being a blockade across certain paths and spitting spider comes at you. Swooper attaching to any ceilings and slowly waving towards you. Different puffs, which are basically clouds that charge towards you, maybe even sucking in air and making themselves invulnerable to touch. Bristles can appear with slightly more range than your hammer, which may need a little more thinking on your part, maybe finding a nearby power block or something. Wizards popping up with some illusionary magic, making you unsure which is which. X-Nauts being a kind of gruntly Goomba that can throw different potions or drink their own. Yucks shooting laser rings at you. And from Super Paper Mario, there's the Squiglets and Springoings being sort of mini Goombery types that are new. Boomboxes hitting you with audio waves from a distance. Jorbus being a giant thing you can only attack from the back. Cherble just being there. Megabyte flying around as a floating head to annoy you. Gromeeba being a spawner of some type. Schlurp acting like Dodongos needing bombs to destroy them. The return of Mr. Eye shooting laser beams at you. Cursia that puts a curse on you if you touch them. Koopa Strikers being another upgrade of the Koopas, now being able to like kick footballs at you. Tyloids acting like sparks that go around the edge of a room. There's also the different Meowbots that are very specific, but there's a load of them in a certain world in Super Paper Mario. There's the Longator, just an annoying little chewing gum looking guy. Pigarhythm being 3 pigs moving along a wall that get faster and faster as you kill one of them. There's the Flora Sapiens being a weird flower type species. A Muth being a giant mammoth enemy. There's a big variety of Samagais we could see, and a giant arsenal of different Skelebits or Skelo type guys, just to name a few. This provides so much variety with so much different attack patterns to have to maneuver through. It's no longer just about getting through the platforms, it's about how to get around your enemies, which could be really interesting to play about. There's also extra movement options potentially available to Mario, such as his spin jump allowing him to ground pound through things, spin hammer to break down certain big blockades or to knock back enemies further, and the spring jump to shoot him miles upwards towards the top of the ceiling. In Super Paper Mario there were multiple playable characters, but that's probably not translatable, especially if there is going to be some sort of 4-player option. But some of the partner moves like ground pounding and throwing is faintly possible. But most of the gameplay from this style would come from dodging attacks and doing solid damage to get beyond. For a multiplayer versus kind of thing, maybe it's a matter of someone will try and hold back to avoid attacking the enemies when they're attacking someone else, and they try and maneuver over them and get ahead. It'd be weird to see, but it'd be interesting. Also, you could play as Toadette in paper form. And then makers could drop in the multitude of bosses of games past. Many are hard to adapt into a 2D platformer base, but it could be done with these ones. Obviously, first and foremost, Bowser. Big old classic Bowser in your way. Breathing simple fire, maybe trying to jump towards you sometimes. Kammy Koopa can also appear flying above you, shooting little Magic Koopa elements at you. Lee or Duplis can appear to duplicate into you or other enemies. Buzzar can try and attack you from above. The Goomba King can be just a giant-sized Goomba that charges at you. The Atomic Boo can also be just a giant form of a Boo. Rourke can come along and try and take you down one-on-one. Lord Crump can try and do something, but he's probably just going to do a very weak dash. Sir Grodus can come along and try and hit you with beams and lasers and electricity and all sorts of weirdness. You can also get maybe more named characters like Beldam, Marilyn, and Vivian coming as different Shadow Sirens that can teleport around and try and hit you with ailments. There's even the Shadow Queen maybe doing super good damage in certain regions. O-Chunks can come along trying to throw you about. Dementio can be illusionarily flying about and teleporting around. Francis can come trying to take pictures of you, I guess. Mr. L could even appear as a really nice piece of fan service. Mimi could maybe appear, at least in her girl form. Maybe she could appear as in her spider form, but it seems might be a bit much. And then of course there's Count Bleck. It seems fairly simple to work with, but I could see it happening. Clearly, the style's biggest advantage is emphasis on enemy types, each having their own stats and usable attacks. However, Paper Mario is a tad held back by terrain. Generally, it's pretty simple, relying on the background design instead to cover for the level design. It's very old school Mario, obviously. You've got your blocks, your P-switches and such like that. But there's also a lot of flatlands. Paper Mario usually focuses on the world building and the dialogue, so what you're standing on is logically there, like a staircase. But perhaps integrating Super Mario Maker 2 elements will spice it up a lot more, or the style will have to focus on being a slow, puzzlier game. Because you can't run in Paper Mario. Usually it's not about the journey, you must use your tools to get you where you need to go. Of course, there are some level design elements, of course. Doors and pipes are what moves you onwards. There are gravity blocks in the Woe Zone in Super Paper Mario. There's vertical cloud leaves in the Over There stair. Breakable blocks, minecarts in Cragland, moving platforms, suction areas in the underwater sections, ground poundable blocks or pillars that maybe activate to do something. There's all sorts of interactable blocks that maybe you have to hit a certain amount of time or choose the correct ones and such like that. There's whirlpools underwater to get disorientated, and there's pipelines which you could spring jump up to and climb along. Usually level design is simply the world, but that may be harder to translate, obviously. And yet, I'm still quite happy looking at this flatland design here for this fan art. It just, I don't know, something about it excites me. The next big turnover point is the items. Obviously, from an RPG series, there's a lot of variety and effects. The most basic is, of course, the mushroom, not increasing Mario's size, but instead restoring his HP. Sometimes there's keys for doors, there can be POW blocks, Sleepy Sheep, an item that puts enemies to sleep, the Thunderbolt that zaps all on-screen enemies, the Vulturum, which makes Mario electrified and unable to be touched. Maybe we could get a return of the Repel Cape, making Mario a little bit dodgy, making some moves miss him. There's the Scary Mask, frightening weak enemies away, the Life Shroom, reviving Mario's future death, the Courage Shell, boosting his defense, Ice Storm, classically freezing enemies, Stopwatch, also freezing enemies and freezing time, and maybe the Mystery, a surprise box that could be any random item. Many of these items can still be effective in a 2D platformer setting, though as mentioned earlier, some effects could be turned onto Mario. Maybe some enemies can become electrified, impossible to touch. Maybe Mario can be poisoned by a putrid piranha and have to take 1 HP of damage every 2 seconds. Or maybe he'll just be completely frozen solid sometimes. Who knows? Thinking more into it, this game style is a bit of a weird one. Paper Mario wasn't started as a platformer, and though it can be adapted into such a style as we've already seen, when lined up directly next to the original classic games and 3D world, it certainly has a different feel to it. Sure, level design would have to be ready for a slower experience, focusing on other objectives and puzzle work to get where one's needed, focusing on the hammer ability and the variety of counters with enemy movements. But if such a strange idea did breach into Super Mario Maker 2, then the whole reach of the Maker games could explode into many more directions. Not only would a mainline Mario game be up as a contender, but potentially many more options could open up too. Do I expect Nintendo to follow through with this kind of idea? No, not entirely. It's a risky move, admittedly. But then again, Nintendo does love keeping us on our toes and throw us a curveball all the time, so it's not completely inconceivable of an idea, and at the very least, it is very fun to imagine. What are your thoughts? Are there any ideas with this game style you think could go differently? Do you have more ways to incorporate Color Splash and Paper Mario 1? Think a certain aspect of the Paper Mario formula could revolutionize how these Paper Mario style designs could work out? Or are you too busy thinking of another obscure game style to follow like Luigi's Mansion or Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker? Whatever your thoughts, do be sure to comment them down below. After all, comments help a video get recommended out there these days, and I do love sparking a conversation too. But I've said my piece. Been talking all this time over a single fan-made image. If that's not dedication to speculation, then I don't know what is. My name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.